Hello friends, it's my pleasure to be with you for yet another course on Mass Transfer 1. So among unit operations, Mass Transfer 1 is one of the essential course in the curriculum of BTech in Chemical Engineering. Okay, so in this course, we are going to discuss about what are the basic principles like molecular diffusion, eddy diffusion, mass transfer coefficient, analogies between momentum transfer, heat transfer, and mass transfer, and various equipments for gas liquid operations, and several mass transfer equipment such as absorption, distillation, liquid extraction. All that we are going to discuss in mass transfer course. And in this mass transfer 1, we are going to restrict ourselves with two equipments like absorption and cooling towers. Okay, so that will constitute our course. Well, in this Mass Transfer 1 course, in this lecture 1, we are going to have introduction to the subject, that is introduction to this course Mass Transfer 1. Okay, so here we are going to see what is the motivation to learn mass transfer, what is mass transfer, and why we should learn, why we have to learn these principles involved with mass transfer. Okay. Well, if we look at the textbooks to be followed in this course for these mass transfer operations by Robert Trebal will be the serve as a textbook for our course. You can even use Binay K. Datta, Cedar, McCabe Smith, Coulson and Richardson, other textbooks also. Okay. So in the model 1, we are going to discuss about momentum diffusion. We are going to define what is J flux, what is N flux, what is convective flux, what is diffusive flux, how they are related. We are going to derive expression for convective flux for general fluids. Then we are going to derive expression for convective flux for A diffusing and not diffusive B, equimolar counter diffusion of A and B, and counter diffusion of A and B. Okay, so and we are going to do numericals also. Also, we are going to learn how to determine this moment mass diffusivity using empirical equation for gases and liquids, and also how to experimentally determine the mass diffusivity for a liquid vapor system. Okay, we are going to see how this phenomenological law corresponding to mass transfer is defined, and what is the proportionality constant, which is called as momentum mass diffusivity, how this mass diffusivity is relative to momentum diffusivity and thermal diffusivity. Okay, in later stages we are going to learn analysis between momentum transfer, heat transfer, and mass transfer. So all this we are going to learn in this particular course and particular model. Okay, also we are going to derive expressions for diffusivity of gases, diffusivity of liquids, diffusivity of solids, diffusivity from solids, surface of the solids into the gas atmosphere. Okay, so we are going to have derivations, and we are going to solve several numericals for each case also. So that will constitute this model 1. Okay, so we know that chemical industry process can be classified as unit processes and unit operations, right? So we have seen different examples for that. So what is the role of a chemical engineer? So in this, as a chemical engineer, so we are going to design the various equipments, okay, design of equipments as well as total plant, right? We are going to design a power process plant, and also we are going to get involved in the operations of a plant, right? So we are not only in the design stage, also while operation also, whatever challenges being faced during the operation, a chemical engineer, we get involved in the operations of a plant, right? So we are not only in the design stage, also while operation also, whatever challenges being faced during the operation, a chemical engineer has its role to play. So to effectively play his role as a chemical engineer, a thorough knowledge on the various phase separation techniques. We know that various phases are there: liquid phase, gaseous phase, or solid phase. So we often come across various unit operations which have phase separation techniques, right? So actually, this various phase section phase separation techniques may be simply a gas liquid operation, or it can be a gas to solid operation, or solid to reverse also possible, right? Mass transfer can take place from gas to liquid or liquid to gas, or gas to solid or solid to gas, or it can be between one liquid phase to another liquid phase, or it may be between liquid and solid operation. So these mass transfer operations can be of various types. Okay, so as a chemical engineer, we should equip ourselves for the application of various mass transfer operations. I'm going to define mass transfer, but before that, so we should be aware of mass transfer operations. Here, we skip actually the name of operation, but actually it should be MTO1. Okay, our course name is MTO1. O is silent here actually. Mass transfer 1 is what we are referring, but actually it is mass transfer operations. Okay, so a chemical engineer should equip himself for the application of various mass transfer operations. Okay, with this mass transfer equipment, why we should know all these mass transfer operations? Because the way in which the efficiency with which these operations are carried out in an industry have an impact on a final product price. Okay, so finally, if I have told you in process calculation course itself, the purpose of any business or running any plant is to get some profit, right? So the for that we should profit is final price minus cost price, or selling price minus cost price gives us the profit, right? So actually the final price of any product that we are producing in the industry as a is depends upon this, not mass transfer, all the unit operations, particularly mass transfer operations. Okay, so what is our aim as a chemical engineer? What is the aim? I have told you the class itself. A chemical engineer, what is, when we define a chemical engineer, we have told that he has to convert a low cost raw material into a value added product in the most efficient way, most ecological way, right? So means environmental friendly manner and the most economic way he has to produce. That way our aim is to have a minimum operation cost. We should have a minimum operation cost. So for that, to have a minimum operation cost, we should know what is the exact amount, means the design parameters considered associated with this mass transfer operation should be known, which we will discuss later. So our aim is to have a minimum operation cost. Okay, also what is the objective of this course then? Our aim is to have a sufficient knowledge on this phase separation techniques, particularly with respect to mass transfer operation. There can be operations without mass transfer also. So particularly with respect to mass transfer operations, we want to have, so that we as a chemical engineer, we will be able to have the sufficient knowledge on these basic principles of mass transfer operations and to face the challenges ahead while during the operations. So not only during the design stage, with respect to operation of any chemical plant, we should have a knowledge on this mass transfer. So that is the objective of learning this particular course. Okay, and but in this course we are going to discuss about diffusion in solids. Particularly we are going to deal with what is diffusion, what is molecular diffusion, what is Knudsen diffusion, like that. So diffusion is movement of ions or species, right? So diffusion in within gas phase, or diffusion with taking place within liquids, or it can be even diffusion taking place within solids. Okay, so that will, it's more inclined towards the metallurgy people, so which we are going to discuss in this same model. So diffusion primarily taking place within the gas phases, or primarily taking place within the liquid phases, or diffusion taking place within the solid phases. Otherwise, we in the later stage we are going to discuss about from one phase to another phase, that is interphase mass transfer. So interphase mass transfer refers to diffusion of species from one phase to another phase, that is, as I said earlier, solid to liquid, or it may be solid to gas, or it may be liquid to gas. So like that, from one phase to another phase, this mass transfer can take place. So in this particular course, we are going to have first two lectures on introduction, which we are currently having, going through. So introduction to mass transfer, and we are going to discuss about module 1. Okay, in module 1 we are going to have discuss about various stuffs like phenomena of gas diffusion, liquid diffusion and solid diffusions. Okay, what is the principle, what is the phenomenological law, Okay, the phenomenological law is which does not have any, it is not derived from fundamental principles, but it is derived from the experiments and empirical equations, right? So for heat transfer, we have a phenomenological law called Fourier's law of heat conduction, where you have the heat flux is directly proportional to means temperature gradient, or you can say difference in temperature. Okay, so in general, what is a transport flux? I told you this in the last class also, means in this course also. Any transport flux, in particularly in my chemical engineering, we have three type of transport flux. One is momentum flux, heat flux, and mass flux. Okay, so for with respect to momentum flux, Newton's law of viscosity. With respect to heat transfer, heat flux, we have Fourier's law of heat conduction. With respect to mass flux, we are going to discuss about Fick's law of diffusion. Okay, so transport flux, any in general, transport flux is equal to driving force by resistance. Okay, so for example, you might have learned in heat transfer course, driving force is temperature difference, and the remaining parameters all put together in the denominator will become resistance, which may be a function of distance, thermal conductivity, area, all that. Okay. So similar to that, here in mass transfer also we are going to discuss about what are the driving forces, what are the resistances. Similarly, in momentum also we had difference in velocity and remaining distance, other parameters, viscosity, all that coming into picture when we try to write about shear stress is proportional to velocity gradient in fluid mechanics, right? So that way, in this first model, we are going to discuss about phenomenological law first, and then we will be defining diffusivity. Okay, so we are going to define a term called molecular diffusivity. So what is molecular diffusivity? Again, it is similar to viscosity term. In Newton's law of viscosity, you defined a constant called as viscosity, right? That is a proportionality constant. In heat flux, you are going to define a proportionality constant. Similarly, here also in mass transfer, we will be defining a proportionality constant called as diffusivity. So how to determine this diffusivity from empirical equations, and how to determine it from experimentally, how to determine the value of diffusivity. So all that will be covered in our module 1. Okay, and in module 2 we are going to discuss focus on interface mass transfer, that is from one phase to another phase. So this will be covered in second module, and in third module we are going to discuss about some mass transfer applications or equipments like packed towers, plate columns. So that topic will be covered in our module 3, in which we are going to discuss about humidification also. So humidification we have covered in our previous course also. Same, we have to extend it to this course, and we will be learning about cooling tower, which is one of the important heat and mass transfer equipment. So we are going to discuss about cooling towers in this course. So for that, whatever we have learned humidification in the previous course, process calculation will be continued here. Okay, another important mass transfer operation we will be discussing in mass transfer 1 course will be absorption. Okay, so that's what we are going to do in module 3. I repeat, in module 1 we are going to discuss about what is molecular diffusion, that is taking place in gases, liquids and solids. Later we will be defining how to determine molecular diffusivity empirically using empirical equations and experiments. And in module 2 we are going to discuss about interfacial mass transfer, where we will be defining mass transfer coefficient. So in heat transfer you will interface in convective heat transfer you will be defining heat transfer coefficient. So similarly in mass transfer course we will be defining interface mass transfer. So in interfacial mass transfer we will be defining mass transfer coefficient. So what are the various units that are available for mass transfer coefficient, how to determine the mass transfer coefficient from equations, and also experimentally how to determine mass transfer coefficients will be discussed. And we will be discussing about uh, analogies existing between momentum transfer, heat transfer and mass transfer. Some of the equation, as I told, if you know friction factor, because some of the parameter like heat transfer coefficient and mass transfer coefficient will be difficult to determine directly, but whereas the roughness parameter can be determined in fluid mechanics, like in pipes. If you know what is the friction factor, what is the roughness, what is the age of the pipe, okay, once we know the friction factor we will be able to uh, relate it to heat transfer coefficient and mass transfer coefficient, and using the dimensionless numbers which we have learned in other courses, we'll be able to determine the heat transfer coefficient and mass transfer coefficient. Okay. So once we know this, the other required energy requirement can be calculated. So that's what we'll be discussing in module 2. And in module 3, we are going to discuss about equipments. Module 3, we will be discussing about equipments for mass transfer. Okay, so some of the equipments for mass transfer like plate columns. We'll discuss about packed columns. Okay, and we will be discussing about cooling towers, two equipments, cooling towers and absorption. So these two will be covered in mass transfer 1, and in mass transfer 2 course you will be going for major mass transfer operation like distillation, liquid extraction, absorption we are covering here. So adsorption, chromatography, like that. Remaining, you may see, as I said, there are n number of unit of mass transfer equipments available. It is difficult to cover every equipment in say, 2 courses. Okay, so that's why we are separating the principles first in model 1 and 2. Whatever we are learning, that principles only will be governing the all the equipments whatever we are covering in mass transfer 1, mass transfer 2, and whatever we are not covering also. Okay, so there are n number of equipments available for mass transfer operations. So whatever principles that we are going to learn in model 1 and model 2 will be governing the rest of the equipments. Or we can use, once we have the knowledge of the principle of operation, how the mass transfer is taking place, so we can use the same principle to understand the any mass transfer equipment. Okay, so that's what we will be doing. So what we are actually, what is mass transfer particularly here? When you, if you look at the mass transfer, what we primarily do is, it's a separation process. Essentially it is a separation process. Remember, separation is when you have a mixture, we want to separate it into different product streams, right? For example, we will be having a feed mixture, right? So in general, what is we are going to trying to get a product one. It can be separated. If ideally, if we can separate a feed mixture, means what we will getting is we will be different, get product one, product two, okay, product three, like that. We will be getting product up to product n minus one and product n. Okay, so from a single, essentially in a separation process, what we are doing, we are going to have a mixture. This is actually separation process. It is opposite of what we do in mixture. What is happening in a mixture when you are doing mixing? I think we are did material balance for mixing process, right? We have species 1 and we have species 2. What we get is a product which is a mixture of A and B. If it is A, if it is B, this product what we are getting is A plus B. So remember, it is not, no reaction is taking place. That's why it is unit operation, right? So remember, in general, the mixing or what you can call it as blending, right? Mixing or blending is as, do we need any energy to do this? Do we need any energy, external energy requirement for mixing?
Yes, sir.
No, no. Generally, do we need?
Generally, we
Generally, we
don't
don't
Remember,
need it.
we don't require it,
yeah,
but if
because
we to make the process faster, then we require
yeah,
it.
in general, mixing or blending is a spontaneous process. Right? With respect to thermodynamics, mixing is a spontaneous process which needs no external energy. Okay. But whereas the reverse of it, what is the reverse of it? A product which is a, if it is a feed and we want to separate it into this type of process, what is happening when we want to separate a mixture into its constituents? It is by thermodynamics, it is not a spontaneous process, right? So it is not a spontaneous process, and it is going to be energy intensive process because it needs external energy. So that we should know, right? And there are 5 basic separations possible. Okay, there are 5. This separation process can be in general, can be of 5 basic separation techniques are there. So if you look at 5 basic techniques for separation, if if you look at 5 basic techniques of separation, one is like we create phase. Okay, if we are creating phase, new phase is created. For example, we have a feed and we create some phase to get phase 1 and phase 2. So that can be one type of thing. So that is one type is phase creation. Okay, and second one is we may add a additional phase. Phase refers to solid, liquid, gas. Okay, so phase addition can be there. We just send in gases, whereas within the system something is getting liquefied. So that way, so that is another way method is of separation is we are adding some phase. So that is a new phase is added to whatever is the phase. So for example, it's only gas. We are getting two liquids. So some phase change is taking place, right? So that is one type. So there is can be phase addition is possible. So by adding some solids or something like that, we add something. So a new phase is added to the system. So that is also possible. So we get phase 1 and phase 2. Okay. So these are some the basics of phase separation. And another type is possible. Again, you can imagine about whatever my unit operations or whatever material balance, energy problems we have done. You can relate them here. Okay, which method is going to use this type of thing. Okay, so there may be another case where we will have separation by a barrier like filtration or membrane separation techniques. So what we will be sending, we will send a feed. There will be a barrier where we will get raffinate and extract as two different phases, right? So when I say phase 1, phase 2, it not necessarily to be different solid and liquid. Difference in composition is there, then there is phase separation, right? So phase 1 is it will have a composition of A and B in fixed ratio, and this also may have A and B in a fixed ratio, right? So this is phase creation. Here when I add something extra, we have phase addition can be take place, and there can be a type of unit operation where there can be a barrier which will give two different phases, and that can be a case. Here it need not be solid, as I said. Here it can be solid or liquid. So there is another phase called solid agents can be present in the system. Okay. So this is another type. Okay. So this is another type where we'll have a feed, and again we'll have phase separation, phase 1 and phase 2. Okay. So there is another one called as external field, like your electrochemical system is there, or electrodialysis is there, forced thing, and electromagnetic field is there. So there can be forced field. Okay, force field can be present. Force field or some gradient, difference in potential, right? So like that, some gradient external other than these things can be there. So based on that also there is possible of separating different phases. Okay. So this is fifth type. What is fifth type? Using some external force field like electric field or magnetic field. Okay. So there are essentially 5 basic separation techniques which can be used. Okay. And for all these things, why we have to learn this mass transfer course is we want to know the size of the equipment, right? Size of the equipment. If you want to learn what is as an engineer we are going to design it means, or we are already designed the plant is there, we want to replace it with something new technique or new equipment, how to design it, how to calculate all that, right? So for that also we should know what is the size of the equipment required, and the size of the equipment is a function of again the rate of mass transfer, right? The rate here, what we are going to define mass transfer, we will see the rate of mass transfer. Say similarly to the size of the heat transfer equipment, the size of the equipment going to depend upon the rate of the heat transfer. Similarly here, the rate of the mass transfer equipment will be depending upon the rate at which the mass transfer is taking place. That is the mass transfer flux. Okay, of each species, rate of mass transfer of each species. Species refers to, it can be ions, elements, or anything. Okay, A, B, C, etc. Okay, and this can be this rate of mass transfer maybe from one phase to another phase. This mass transfer can be from one phase to another phase. As I said, it may be from solid to liquid or gas to liquid, or it may be mass transfer can take place from one location to another location. That also important. One location to another location. So essentially it is measured from one point to another point, from one point to point. Here this is the amount of A and B present. Here this is the amount of A and B present. Okay, so when A there are, it is like there are 20 boys there, there are 10 girls are there. Here 10 boys are there, 20 girls are there. Okay, so what is the natural attraction by natural law? So this will there will be movement of boys to here or girls to here will take place because there are more boys here. So to until it gets equilibrium, like we want 30 are there, so that the process, the movement will be taking place until there are 15 pairs are being formed naturally, right? So that is the equilibrium. So with respect to thermodynamic equilibrium, the transfer will take place depending upon how far it is we are away from the thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay, so what is the driving force for mass transfer or heat transfer? So I am talking about the driving force. Naturally, driving force is, what is the driving force? The driving force is the departure from the equilibrium. Say if there are 15 boys, 15 girls here settled, 15 boys, 15 girls married, so there is not going to be any movement from here to there. Okay, so that way we have thermodynamic equilibrium existing in this place. So which is when I say thermodynamic equilibrium, we are talking about the volatility, vapor pressure, solubility, etc. Okay, so the driving force is the difference or departure from the thermodynamic equilibrium is the driving force. Either it is mass transfer or heat transfer, the departure from thermodynamic equilibrium. So the departure from thermodynamic equilibrium will determine the mass transfer, the driving force for mass transfer, and also the direction of mass transfer. Okay, driving force and direction. It's like we always, heat will flow from higher concentration to lower concentration. Mass transfer also similarly, and in mass transfer also the movement will be taking place. The movement of species will be taking place from higher to lower. Okay, so that is what we are trying to say here. So the driving force and direction of mass transfer will be determined by the departure of its thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay, and there is one more thing called, what is the maximum separation possible? This is another point. What is the extent to which it will happen? Extent of separation possible. What is the extent of separation possible? So as I said, it is up to thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay, so okay. So differences in the properties of the species. Extent of the separation possible depends upon difference in the various properties such as molecular properties. Okay, molecular properties are thermodynamic and transport properties. So the extent of the separation is possible based upon the differences in the properties from one. If we are talking about the mass transfer from one location to another location or one phase to another phase, it depends. The property will be properties, the molecular properties at this location. For example, we have seen density of the mixture, means we have a mixture here. What is the density? What is the pressure? What is the temperature at this location? Right. So for heat transfer. So here for mass transfer, it is about composition only. Okay. So essentially, mass transfer is about change in compositions from one location to another location or one phase to another phase. Okay, so that is our study here. Our mainly we are particular about these things. So for example, these properties, what are the example for the thermodynamic and transport properties? Thermodynamic properties such as pressure, temperature, volume, or vapor pressure, solubility, transport properties like adsorptivity, diffusivity, and viscosity. So all that will come under transport properties. Okay, so the difference in these properties will be the essentially form the driving force. As I said, if you are talking about the temperature for heat transfer, what is the temperature difference from location one to another location will determine the rate at which the mass transfer will take place. As I said, we are what is the equilibrium? As I said in the previous course, your capacity is you will take some 5 chapatis or 5 rotis, let me say. Okay, if you are morning you are not taken anything, if somebody offers 5 roti, you may be eating it fast and complete all the 5. But just now at 11:30, during 11 to 11:30 break, you already had some snacks, all the things, you are already taken 2 rotis, let me say. So now already you have taken 2 means it's not possible for you to eat everything, so you may be taking maximum 3 or 4, right? You may be leaving something out because the departure from the equilibrium level. So my equilibrium is 5. I have not even taken dinner or breakfast. So once after this close, if I go to have lunch, if 5 rotis are offered or 15 rotis are offered, I may be taking it all. Okay, but already I had taken 10 rotis at breakfast, so I may not able to take all the 15 for the after this class. So I will be having some 3 to 4. Okay, so like that. So the departure from the thermodynamic equilibrium, so it can be thermodynamic equilibrium or mass with respect to mass transfer. It is about, we have seen solubility curve, right? Revolves like learned in thermodynamics course. So depending upon the composition, equilibrium composition, departure from with respect to mass transfer, it is about composition. As I said, the equilibrium composition. We are going to have a equilibrium composition up to, so the departure from this equilibrium composition will be determining the rate at which mass transfer will take place. So essentially, what is mass transfer operation? So let us define this course. What is mass transfer? What is mass transfer operation? And we usually skip mass transfer operation because it refers to operation only. Okay, when I say mass transfer, I refer to mass transfer operation. Okay, if unit operations involve changes in composition of solutions, if unit operations, let me say unit operations involve changes in composition of the solution, they are known as mass transfer operations. Okay, what is the significance of mass transfer operation? Actually, the significance of mass transfer operation is profound because mass transfer operation is characterized by transfer of a substance through another on a molecular scale. Okay, this mass transfer operation is characterized by transfer of substance through another on a molecular scale. The significance of this mass transfer operation is they have a direct impact on the final price of the products. Okay, because remember, we are going to discuss it again in detail. Okay, so the cost of separation of the products going to have a huge impact on the final price. For example, sulfuric acid is there, it is easier to separate it from the other byproducts being formed, whereas we have gold, uranium kind of thing. So it is available in nature, it is available in the ore form. The cost involved in it to involved to separate the gold out of its ore or from the natural resources is huge, and that is why we are having the price of the gold is high. 1 kg of gold is price is going to be high than 1 kg of sulfuric acid. Why? Because the purification cost, the separating out of the product involves needs more energy. It is an energy intensive process. We have seen that mixing is simple, but whereas separating out the phases or the compound species from a mixture is energy intensive process. They need external energy, they are not spontaneous process. So that's why it is important, that's why we have significance to know these mass transfer operations. Okay, as I said again, these mass transfer operations are involved in transfer of substance in molecular scale. Okay, molecular level, we are going to discuss the movement of species. The species, we can call it species or compound or anything, okay, substance. In general, in textbook, if you look at tribal textbook, it will be mentioned like species, okay, substance. Loosely we can mention it like substance or compound, anything, okay. So what is the example for this mass transfer? Simple, see, remember this mass transfer operation, even though this chemical engineering course come into picture and people are using it, there is long time since we have been using all these processes. Just I'll give you a small example for this mass transfer operation which is being widely used. So we have water, sea water is there, right? How we produce salt
Salt.
from, yeah, salt is being produced, right? How they do, they have to evaporate water, right? So what we will do, actually it can be natural process also. You have air stream passing, hot air, okay, hot air can be going across it at the surface of this thing. So the, what is the concentration of water here? It is pure sea water, okay. So there is a concentration of water in this sea water is more, less amount of salt is there, right? Whereas what is the amount of water vapor in the air? Less. So thereby, that's why there is high concentration of water in the liquid, and in the surface there is less concentration of water in the hot air. So that is the reason water molecules will be vaporized once it is getting enough heat, after sunlight is there, after water vapor gets vaporized, so they escape from the liquid surface to bulk of the air. So the mass transfer is taking place. So that is where we are looking in focusing here, okay. So mass transfer of water vapor from surface to bulk of the air, right? Bulk of the air is taking place. So that is where the, here what is our species or substance here? It is water vapor. So in as a, for this course we are going to refer them as A, okay. Species A, B, C is what we are going to use, okay. So that is why we, our focus is at the molecular level, okay. We are not talking about how much kg is, means to determine how much kg water is evaporated, this is going to be useful. We are, what we are trying to do is understanding the concept of mass transfer. So when we are talking about these concepts of mass transfer, principles of mass transfer, it deals with the molecular scale, what is happening in the system, okay. Now, what this is a simple example. Remember, the separation process is not that only after chemical engineering principles came into existence, people started using. Not like that. Actually, since ancient days, we have seen that extraction of ores, we have seen extraction of metal was being done since days. Okay, we have seen that 3,000 years old weapons are being taken out when they are digging the earth and taking out old civilization. We are well aware of metal. See, metallurgic forces have come into picture of late only, but the people, our ancient people, either in several parts of the world. I read one interesting article yesterday also. Even though there are in across the world, only there are few places the ores are available in the earth. But now when these people are taking out some 2,000 years old or 1,000 years old metal weapon, even though metal ores are present only in this portion, the now we are able to take out metals from several portions of the earth, means of these places. It means that the people have transported even before we have found the aeroplanes or our own ships, the latest ships. Okay, so that the people have migrated from one place to another place and lived there with the weapons which is being taken out, or extraction of metal was being done here. They had the technology to take out and separate it out and do manufacture the weapons according to the wish. Okay, so that way, this being ancient days, this extraction of metal ore is being carried out. It is an example of uh, separation of species or mass transfer is taking place in this, okay. And evaporation of seawater, which we discussed just now, evaporation of seawater, okay. This is an example of mass transfer. And we have seen that earlier days, rock salt, rock asphalt, okay. This refining has been carried out for a long time. The refining of rock salt has been done for a long time, and distillation of various liquors. People have been using liquors for several days. Okay, naturally they know the process of distilling the liquors. Okay, and also we have seen that people use the fragrances scents, right, from flowers, how to take out the fragrance. Okay, so they extracted all these medicines. Okay, extraction of medicines from various plants, herbs, all that have been done. So these mass transfer operations, they all are separation processes. Okay, so that means that separation processes have been followed by people long time since. Okay, but what is our role now? We are, even though the principles are known, well known earlier, if we understand the mass transfer principles, now what we do is, due to increase in population, increase in demand, okay, all the products requirements have been increasing ever, right? So our as a role of chemical engineer is to produce, mass produce them, the techniques to be followed. So the principle is same. A chemist does a separation in a small scale in a laboratory in different way. But as a chemical engineer, our role is find out which equipment can be used to do the same separation in large scale thing. So that is our major role, right? So that way we have done to the other than the ancient thing within our human body is a very good example. Within our body, within our human body also, there are several mass transfer similar to mass transfer equipments. We have lungs. Okay, we have kidney. These two are a good example for mass transfer equipment. That is, you have separation of species. Okay, what is happening in the lungs? We have CO2 exchange is there, oxygen exchange is there. That is, CO2 has to be released out to from the body, and oxygen we have to inhale. So the blood cells are there. We want to in the blood we want this oxygen, and whatever CO2 is formed, that needs to be separated out. And lung is an example. That is why it's a chemical engineer role, where we are making artificial lungs or artificial kidney development. So that much level biomedical engineering applications. Okay, development of lungs, artificial kidneys. Okay, life support people are doing, no, in ICU units. So these things are used there, pacemaker making. So that way chemical engineer have our role in these things also. So that way we should know how the diffusion of CO2 taking place across the alveolus or air sac, or how the oxygen is getting through the capillary and getting into the blood. Okay, so all that we should know. So that rate of diffusion only determines how efficiently our lungs are operating. Or even with respect to kidney, it's a good example for membranes, right? So our kidneys, it has to separate out water, and it has to separate out the waste, solid waste, right? So from the metabolites of the blood, right? And from the metabolism of the blood, so the kidney roles the play. So this thing. Okay, so from the blood we have to separate out the water and waste. So that way, kidney is an example for mass transfer operation taking place in our human body. And I again reiterate, we are different from chemists. We have to differentiate ourselves from chemists from chemical engineers. Okay, so chemists can do anything. They can use any, because whatever the scale is very small scale they do. Okay, when they do small scale, they don't bother about economy. Okay, so that means they can do any method, costly method can be used to separate out for small scale. But whereas when you are as a chemical engineer, what is our role? Our role is to have a minimum operation cost. Okay, as a chemical engineer, it is our responsibility to have minimum operation cost in the processes. That way, so we have to look for low energy utilization. Here they don't bother about how much power is consumed, how much energy being supplied, all that. When I say economics, it takes care of everything. How much water is used, how much heat is used, how much power is used, all that they don't mind. Whereas we have to look for low energy consumption, right? We want to have more efficient. Means here they don't bother about the efficiency also. They want the final product to be obtained. That's all. How efficiently we can do without all these things. Okay. Separation efficiency also we are concerned. So that way we have to do that. So in general, what is our concern is about? Their concern is about they can use any analytical method, sophisticated methods like preparatory separating techniques, analytical separation techniques like HPLC, all that gas chromatography like that they can use. Okay, but whereas here we cannot go for such chromatography. So they can, this is costly and highly sophisticated. Chromatography can be used for separating the species. Whereas what we are in large scale, what we suggest is distillation. So to choose among the various available mass transfer equipments, which one to choose? We have several mass transfer operations, right? So we have absorption, adsorption, distillation, liquid extraction, solid leaching, adsorption, other membrane separations. Within membrane separation, we have ultrafiltrations, and we have electrodialysis, electrochemical methods are there. Among various methods available, which one to choose will be decided by the chemical engineer, and it is our responsibility to understand the principle, fundamental principle, or what is happening within each mass transfer operations, so that we will be able to wisely choose one of the methods which can be suggested for large scale production. Okay, so some of the mass transfer operation just now I listed out. Distillation is there. We have absorption. These are some of the examples for mass transfer operation. We have absorption. We have liquid extraction. Okay, so we have leaching. We have drying, and we have crystallization. We have adsorption. And if we are looking at high specific chemicals like which are produced in low scale, then we have to use chromatography. That too, for industrial scale, how to use that is a challenge. And then we have membrane technology, membrane separation. So whatever is not able to covered in our core course, mass transfer one, they will be covered in some of the elective courses like analytical techniques. In final year, you will have elective called analytical techniques or analytical experimental procedures. Then there is elective now for final year membrane separation process like that. Okay, so that way, so doing all this, we are even able to contribute in some of the biomedical equipments like lung oxygenators, because what our lung is doing, we are able to connect it outside and we are able to do this, and we are able to make artificial kidneys. These equipments are being defined by our chemical engineers. Okay, so we have a major role. Remember, this unit operations can be classified. Before that, let me finish this point. So if you look at our design principles to design all these, any of the equipments. Okay, so see, remember, this particular crystallization will come under your heat transfer course. Okay, so remember, heat and mass transfer plays equal roles here. So crystallization you will learn in mass transfer course. Okay, so if you are looking at this design principle, there are four major points, more major kind of things we should know. What are the four major points? So one is about what is the number of equilibrium stages required. That's what you will learn in each whatever is maybe the operation. In general, what are the 4 points we will be concerned about this design of mass transfer equipments is, in general, for any equipment we are focusing here on mass transfer equipments, the number of equilibrium stages required. As I said, in this module 1, module 2 we are going to module 3 we are going to learn about packed columns or plate columns. We have equilibrium conditions. How many equilibrium stages are required? That is, number of stages is like we have a packed column. We will have n number of stages to do the separation. Feed will be entering here, top product and bottom product. It may be distillation or absorption, anything. So number of stages required. What is the number of equilibrium stages required theoretically? Number of theoretical stages required is number of equilibrium stages required. So that will be the fundamental point we will be learning in each of the unit operations. So that is important parameter to be understood in the design principles. And number 2 is about we have two type of process, right? Batch or continuous. In CRE, you will be using these two words often. So reactors can be batch reactor or continuous reactor, means CSTR, and plug flow reactor you will be learning. So depending upon that, in that one parameter is important. What is the contact time? So contact time is how much time one phase is brought in contact with each other. For example, absorption. What is absorption? We learned in process calculation course also. We have a gas with a less amount, certain amount of A is there. We send in a liquid which will be having less A. So this A has to taken, A will be mass transferred, diffused from gas phase to liquid phase. How much time they come into contact with each other, right? So in the design, so we should know the flow rate of gas and liquid, which determines upon what should be the ideal contact time. It depends upon again in, for example, in absorption, it depends upon solubility, right? We have seen what is solubility, all that, right? So that way contact in general, if I say contact time, it even relates to with respect to continuous, it is about what is the flow rates, or it can be talking about if it is reactor, it can be about volume or volume or length of the pipe. We have determined it in process calculation course also, right? What is the length of the tube required? So like that, when I say generally contact time, for batch it is direct meaning. Contact time is the reaction time, or means what you call the operation time, how much time we want to give directly. Okay, so that way time requirement in general, it is time requirement. If it is contact time for batch, or it can be in terms of volume or length required, which will depending upon all this for continuous process. That is the second one. First one is number of equilibrium stages required. Two is contact time requirement. Three is what is the so once we know this time requirement, what is the practically possible flow rate, permissible flow rate? We should know what should be the minimum flow rate and what should be the maximum flow rate. We have seen that minimum flow rate, what is maximum flow rate, we should know. Okay, so if it is too fast, there will be a problem with respect to packing. We will have, it may carry away all the liquid along with it, or liquid, if it is very slow, if it is very slow also, that process there may not be sufficient transfer taking place like that. So what is the permission rate of flow? Because if you know the permissible flow rate, we will be able to determine the cross section area required, right? Mass transfer or heat transfer. So this is applicable for heat transfer course also. So that is the basics basis for why we are going for these two courses, heat transfer course and mass transfer course. So once you know the flow rate, you will be once you know the temperature differences, you'll be able to know what is the flow rate. Once you know the flow rate, you'll know able to determine the cross section area required, all that, right? So another final one is, once we know all these three, final main thing is about energy requirement. In designing, we should know what is the energy requirement for each operation. That is our aim, right? So overall, our objective is to operate any, we want to minimize the operating cost of any equipment. So for that, we should able to understand the principles to determine what is theoretically required, what is practically required, how to minimize the difference between what is the actual versus theoretical, and what will be the ideal contact time, what is the permissible flow rate, and how much energy is required. So all these are required. So these are the characteristics of the correct, from which we should know what we should do for doing the design and equipment in proper way. Okay, so in general, I repeat, I just summarize here in last 5 minutes. Okay, so in general, we have operations in an industry. So the operations can be key operations, and it can be key operations or auxiliary. So support staff, like in a department, in college, faculty are important. Faculty, students are main stakeholders. So whatever support staff, like other official positions or office assistant, peons, who provides us water, who provides us all the things. So they come under auxiliary, right? So the what are the key as well as auxiliary operations. So we under this key operations only we have unit processes. We have seen in detail what is unit processes in the previous course. I'll again discuss in tomorrow's class also. So we have unit processes and unit operations. Okay. So under unit operations, unit processes involves chemical reactions, right? We have chemical reactions being involved, that is unit processes. So when you are having a separation of chemical mixtures, it comes under unit operations. So auxiliary operations means there is no change in no chemical reaction or no chemical composition. So any other operations, okay. So but these are necessary to make these key operations successful. To make key operations successful, we need these supporting operations which are called as auxiliary operations, which is essential to make key operations successful, and this can be designed by mechanical engineers also. So this is our area, see, chemical engineers. Okay, so that's why you learn these things uniquely. But when you look at these things, they also learn. What are that? Fluid mechanics, they also learn. What is that condition coming under? Shaft work. Shaft work means what is pump, fans, blowers, compressors. These fours or other measuring units for measuring what you call flow measuring devices, right? Flow measuring devices like venturimeter, orifice meter, other non-destructive units, area meter, rotometers, all that, right? So that's why even when you talk about these things, mechanical engineer also say, hey, we also studying fluid mechanics. Okay, so that way this design can be done by them also, but still as a chemical engineer we do it ourselves. This another thing, another auxiliary operation is about size reduction. Okay, size reduction of solids. What do you use? Crushers, ball mills, right? So like that. And then once we reduce the size, there is separation. Separation based on size. What is that? Screening. So this you have learnt in mechanical operations. Okay, so that way we have this thing, phase separation, screening, all these mechanical operations also again can be that this thing can be designed by mechanical engineers and other engineers also. Okay, another important thing is even though it is auxiliary, it comes under auxiliary, but we put it under unit operations. Okay, again heat addition or heat rejection. Heat addition or heat rejection. So I think this will give you a clear picture about how I am different. A chemical engineer is different from other engineers. Okay. So if you look at heat addition or heat rejection again, so here we come across, you have a separate course, right? Heat transfer course where you learn the what is conduction, convection, radiation, three modes of heat transfer, and conduction within single wall, single phase. And if you have composite wall, how this we are going to determine the how the resistance term will change in the total flux. Okay, so that heat addition or heat exchanger. So we have, after learning the basic principles of heat transfer, we will be designing heat exchangers. Okay, and we will be designing boilers, not in our course. So boilers and condensers. Remember, these things have come across in mass transfer operations also, right? In a distillation column at the top, we had condenser, right, which you learn here, and we will have a reboiler. Okay, so all these things we will be learning in this heat addition or rejection. As I said, it is again, it's an auxiliary operation. It comes under, it is an auxiliary operation, which is, that's why even mechanical engineers also study this heat transfer course. They have their own heat transfer laboratory. You can visit there, and we have our own heat transfer laboratory in our department in ground floor. Okay, so which you can visit later. Okay, so that way we have heat addition or rejection. This is, but we study this under this as a chemical engineer, we study it under one of the important unit operation, but essentially it can be, it is an auxiliary operation which can be done by mechanical engineers also. So essentially whatever equipment that we are doing, or even in fluid mechanics you might have seen the other device called decanters, centrifuge and decanters, right? Decanter, what is decanter? We will have a mixture, we will allow it by gravity to separate out, we will take out the top layer and bottom layer. Okay, so that gravity decanters also auxiliary unit. Okay, so essentially, as a chemical engineer, whatever equipment is required for the purification of raw materials, intermediates. Remember, we may have multiple units, right? We will get A to B here, and in another unit we will be converting B to C. We will converting C to D. Okay, so that way again all the places we will be having product stream has to be separated out, right? So that way purification of even before processing A, as I earlier mentioned, whatever is available in the market, we may have to take it to our specifications. What should be the purification? Okay, specifications of A. So that purification of the raw materials, purification of the intermediates, and purification of the final product, we need equipments. So that equipment may be either key equipment or auxiliary equipment. Okay, so mostly we concentrate on unit operations, which is particularly key coming under, that is mass transfer operations, mass transfer operations, which we primarily coming under unit operations, key operation. Okay, so this particular mass transfer operation is a key operation, whereas heat transfer is also again unit operation, but it comes under auxiliary operation. Okay, and for those who joined late, I just wanted to show the textbook. I think in teaching plan also it is mentioned. We will be using Treball as the textbook. Whatever I discussed today, it is available in Cedar. It is a general textbook. It will be a big book. Don't bother. Both books will be very big, but don't bother. We'll concentrate on what we should learn in this mass transfer course one alone. Okay. McCabe Smith, Treball, and Cedar are the textbooks we can use. Coulson and Richardson is one of the very good textbook we can use for mass transfer 2 also. Remember, whatever we are learning, either it is fluid mechanics, mechanical operation, heat transfer, mass transfer, CRE, all are important till you become an engineer. Okay, even particularly in final year when you are going to carry out your BTech UG project, all concepts are interrelated. All units you have to design. If you are made into a group of 4 members, it's not that only I like only heat transfer, I like only mass transfer, I like only fluid mechanics. I will only design this equipment. You have to design 4 equipments minimum if you are a 4-member group. So to design each equipment, either it is heat transfer equipment or fluid mechanics equipment, even simple use storage vessel can be designed, right? So for designing of all the chemical equipments that is being used in a chemical process plant, it is essential to know the knowledge, basic knowledge of all the what is happening, phenomena that is taking place in heat transfer, mass transfer, CRE, all that. So that is the reason why we are getting into more core courses here in this particular semester. You are having CRE, I think you are having CRE, mass transfer, heat transfer. Okay, so thermodynamics too, you are having 4 credit course. So all are high intensity courses are present in this semester. That's why your timetable also made in that way that it is very congested. Okay, so please focus more. Spend daily. You start studying the course, and so that it will be easy for you to score well in this semester also. Okay, all the best for you, all of you. Once again, I wish you all happy New Year for this wonderful 2021. I wish
Thank you, sir.
all your dream comes true. Well, in this lecture one, introductory lecture, we have seen what is mass transfer, why we have to learn mass transfer, motivation behind learning mass transfer course. So in the next lecture, we are going to define Fick's law. We are going to derive an expression for Fick's law. See you in the next lecture. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any doubts, please contact me and leave a comment. Thank you.